Oh, I can't wear my glasses, can I? No, that's not gonna work. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are doing well and you're ready to jump into more Once Upon a Time today. Just a heads up, we're only doing 13 and 14 today. I know I made a fancy schedule for you guys and everything, and we've been doing 3 episodes. I just couldn't get 15 done in time, and I've got to film today. I won't have time to film tomorrow. I'm sorry, this is what's happening. This is what happens when I make a schedule, okay? It all falls apart immediately. But that means that next time we'll just be doing 4 episodes instead of 3. So that'll be a longer video. If you are enjoying this series, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm here Mondays and Fridays. Right now we're on kind of a little bit of a different schedule just because I'm getting ready to get married next month. But normally I'm here twice a week, and then there'll be special videos on occasion on Wednesdays. Stay tuned for those because they are coming and I'm very excited about it. Just as a small aside for anybody who saw Friday's video and would like updates, I finished season 1 of Good Omens. I have to wait a couple days to start season 2 because my friend is coming and I'm not able to be healthy with my David Tennant obsession, so I gotta wait. I have to limit myself. We did, however, finish season 1 of Doctor Who, so I'm not even really in my Good Omens era so much as I'm back in my David Tennant era. So welcome to this part of my life, I guess. Let's talk about Storybrooke. If you'll remember, we ended last time talking about Rumple and Belle. I hope you weren't attached because we're not going back to them right now. Back on the Snow and Charming train, okay? They get another episode. It's almost like they're the main couple or something. So we open with Charming's evil fake dad. He's welcoming Abigail into the kingdom, and I realized I don't like him, so I keep not putting him on screen for you guys. I'm gonna do it now because he keeps showing up, and none of you know what the evil dad looks like. Here he is. He sucks, and I hate him, but here he is. So the king is welcoming Abigail in, and he's like, we're all getting ready for your wedding, everything's going so well, but remember, David actually ran away, so there is no Charming to marry Abigail. He's off running through the wilderness looking for snow. While running through said wilderness, Charming gets captured. David is home with Catherine. She tells him that she got into law school in Boston. Miss Thing wants to be a lawyer, and they need to move. We cut right back to Charming being freed by those guards. They didn't really tie him up or anything. They just kind of kidnapped him and brought him to a secondary location, which we all know is rule number 1 of what you're not supposed to do when you get kidnapped. But it turns out that they're actually Abigail's guards. You heard that right. Miss Abigail is not stupid, and she knows all about David and Snow, and she knows that the dad is after him. So she's like, I came to get you first. I'm gonna help you get out. He's kind of confused because he's like, girl, we're supposed to unite the kingdoms and get married. I assumed you were gonna be upset about this. And she's like, no, you're mistaken. I don't wanna marry you either. David goes straight to Mary Margaret and he's like, Catherine's going to Boston, what do I do? And Mary Margaret is like, we need to tell her. This is the universe telling us that we need to tell her the truth. If you don't wanna move and she does, perfect, your relationship can end and you and I can finally be together. David obviously agrees. That's what he wants. He's picking Mary Margaret, but he is a deeply conflicted golden retriever of a boy and he can't figure out how to just tell that to Catherine. Emma runs into Motorcycle Boy and he is all flirty. He's like, are you ready for that date? I want to take you out for that drink that I promised you. But she won't go out with him unless he tells her his name. So we finally learn that this guy's name is August W. Booth. What does the W stand for? It's just a W. We don't know. Emma then goes inside and Mary Margaret is like, okay, Motorcycle Boy's kind of cute though. Like, you should get in on that. And Emma's like, no, I don't need another boyfriend. And Mary Margaret's like, you need something. And he has a motorcycle and a leather jacket. Mary Margaret then confesses all about the secret affair she's been having with David. And Emma is like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually a bail bonds person. And you have the subtlety of a teenager with their first boyfriend. David goes home to Catherine and he tells her that he can't go with her to Boston. Show of hands. Who thinks he also tells her about Mary Margaret? if you raised your hand, you're incorrect. He can't do it. So he kind of just makes up an excuse and is like, there's not anybody else. It's just me. I just don't want to be with you. Like, I can't give you what you want. You deserve more. He like puts all the blame on him. And Catherine is devastated. Like, she's pretty upset, but also they've been kind of building to this, so she's not really surprised. Abigail takes Charming to the edges of her father's kingdom so that he can escape in peace and the guards from his kingdom won't be able to hunt him. Then she explains that she loves another person and she says his name is Frederick. Y'all remember many episodes ago when we met King Midas and when the guard went to take off his glove, the king was like, be careful, don't forget about what happened to Frederick. That was Frederick. So Abigail and Charming bond. She's like, I can't be with Frederick because he was lost. We don't know exactly what happened to him yet. And then Charming says that Snow is lost to him and he doesn't know what to do because she doesn't love him. Abigail takes him to a golden statue of a guard and she's like, this is the place where Frederick saved my dad's life. He basically saw the attack coming and shoved King Midas out of the way to protect him before he could be shot. But then he touched King Midas in his haste to like get him out of the way and turned into gold. So it was completely accidental, but horrific. True Love's kiss couldn't work on him because the gold blocks his skin from her and his like armor is down, so she can't like reach any part of his actual skin that's covered in the gold. She can just like reach his armor and his helmet, so nothing works and she can't get him back. She does tell David though that there is a secret lake nearby and the lake's water has magical properties and they will return something that you've lost to you. But it's protected by an evil lake guardian and no one's ever been able to collect the water safely. So of course, Charming is like, I will go get that water for you, girl. I don't know if you know this, but I'm courageous. August took the book apart and now he's putting it back together for Henry. We can kind of assume that maybe it got funky in the storm and he's fixing it. I love a bookbinder, y'all. Have you guys seen Inkheart with Brendan? I'm just saying, look at this. Prime Brendan era. Regina gives Henry a gift and it's like a video game controller. She got him a console because she's like, I know you miss your book and I'm so sorry that something happened to it, but now you can be the hero in your own stories. You can play these games and act out these situations for yourself. He says it's not even really about the book. He just really misses Emma and wishes she would let him see her again. Catherine comes in to see Regina all upset. And Regina is like, what's going on? And Catherine says, David is leaving me. Regina is like, that little home wrecker. And Catherine's like, what are you talking about? And Regina's like, Mary Margaret, of course. Like, I can't believe she did this to you. I warned her to leave him alone. Catherine didn't know about Mary Margaret, so that is not good. So Catherine's immediately so upset that Regina knew and didn't tell her. And Regina is kind of like, oh, well, I thought you guys were gonna work it out. I didn't want to ruin your relationship by warning you about that. And Catherine's like, he's been with her the whole time. Catherine makes Regina show her the pictures that Sydney took of Mary Margaret and Charming together, and it's very obvious that stuff was happening. Catherine is like, you're not my friend because friends don't lie. David calls Mary Margaret while she's still at the school and is like, yeah, that went so poorly. It was terrible. Mary Margaret is like, I'm so sorry, but I'm so proud of you for doing it. And now we can be together. We can have a fresh start together and we can start this relationship from a place of honesty. Catherine shows up and bumps into this guy. I wonder who he could be. She straight up just confronts Mary Margaret in the hallway and slaps her right across the face in front of all the teachers and students. So this is how Mary Margaret finds out that Catherine was not told by David about her. So they have a big old argument right in the middle of the hallway. It's not good. Now the whole town knows what Mary Margaret did. At the lake in the forest, Charming gets some water really easily, but then the lake guardian shows up and she's this pretty siren lady. August comes to pick Emma up for their date on his motorcycle and she's like, you want me to get on the back of that thing? And Granny is cleaning a table nearby and she says, girl, if you don't, I will. And like, get it, Granny, I understand. He takes her to a wishing well and he says that the water in the well can restore something you've lost to you, which is interesting and kind of implies that the pond from the Enchanted Forest turned into the well when they all came over. I like when like the landmarks of the Enchanted Forest get brought in. I think it's cool. Mary Margaret is walking through town and everyone is upset with her. including Granny, who freaking tells her to be ashamed of herself. The siren lady gets all up on Charming. He doesn't want anything to do with her, and she's like, oh, am I not beautiful to you like this? What about now? And then she like turns into Snow White. She says she can give him anything he wants in life, but he has to kiss her, and he gives in because he's a weak man. It's not looking good, y'all. He drops his sword and she starts like pulling him slowly into the water, and he's going with her, and then all of a sudden he wakes up and he tries to get away, but she's a strong siren lady. She says she loves him, and she's like, why can't you stay with me? I love you. I want you to stay with me. And that is actually what helps him realize, no, you're not Snow White, because Snow had told him she didn't love him. So he's like, I want real love. I don't want whatever this is. This is fake. So she just freaking tackles him and starts dragging him to the bottle. So she just freaking tackles him and starts dragging him to the bottom of the lake. He finds a knife though and stabs her and gets free. Mary Margaret finds David at her car washing the word tramp off of the side of her windows. Okay, this town turned on her so quickly. He's upset that somebody told Catherine, and she's upset that he didn't tell Catherine. She gets all upset and is basically like, what you and I have isn't love, it's something destructive, and we need to stay away from each other. We can't be trusted to be together. It's over. Emma finds the box with Henry's book propped under the edge of her car. It looks like it washed in from the storm that they had, and it's somehow in perfect condition. August watches her find it. Catherine comes to see Regina, and she apologizes. She knows that Regina was just doing what she thought was best, and she would never hurt Catherine intentionally. She shows Regina the pictures that she had of David and Mary Margaret and is like, do you see the way he's looking at her? He never looked at me like that, even before his accident. She's gonna go to Boston to find her happiness for herself, and she left a letter for David telling him to be with Mary Margaret and be happy and that she wishes them the best. Regina is upset and also very scared. Charming brings the water to Abigail, and she is so excited and happy. They use the water on Frederick and it works, and he comes back to life. It's the guy from the school that Catherine ran into. Charming is now planning to go after Snow anyway and make it work because he's convinced that she loves him and that something must have just been wrong. I don't know if I mentioned this, but when Emma and Sydney went through Regina's office, they found this creepy key ring that had all these skeleton keys on it. Yeah. Those keys are for everybody's houses in the town. So Regina takes one and breaks into David and Catherine's house and takes the letter that Catherine left. Emma brings the fixed book back to Henry, and he is so excited. We see that moment where Charming had ridden to Snow's cottage in the woods and instead found Red. Instead of just riding off like we initially thought happened, he said I'm gonna go find her, I'm gonna fight for her, I have to know what happened, I'm gonna find her. And Red is like, fight for her? Bro, she left here to go find you because she's in love with you. What are you talking about? Why would you need to fight for her? The king shows up with his guards, and so Charming snatches Red and they ride off together on his horse. Mary Margaret is very sad about everything that happened with David. When Emma comes home to the loft, she finds Mary Margaret just curled up on top of the covers in bed, holding a pillow. Emma asks if she wants to be alone. Mary Margaret says no, so Emma just lays down beside her and just offers her breakup support. It's so sad. Catherine starts to leave town, while at the same time, Regina burns the letter. The guy from the school drives out of town and finds Catherine's car. It's still turned on and it's run partially off the road, but then when he looks inside, Catherine is gone. We end up on a creepy ass close-up of Regina smiling at the camera in front of the fire while it flickers over her face. Episode 14 is a backstory that I bet you didn't see us getting, but we're gonna get it anyway. I hope you're prepared. We open with the blue fairy up in the clouds because the fairies hang out in the sky most of the time. A clumsy little fairy named Nova in a pink costume comes cartwheeling into the scene and crash lands into the cloud with the blue fairy. She gives over a year's supply of pixie dust to the pink fairy, and she's basically explaining to us that pixie dust is in the enchanted forest the most powerful magic in all of the land. As Nova flies away, she spills a little bit of the dust and it falls down, it goes into the ground and then lands on an egg. The egg then hatches into Grumpy the dwarf. We cut to Storybrooke, where Leroy is bullying the other dwarves in Granny's diner. Mary Margaret comes inside and asks everybody to volunteer to help raise money for the nuns, which is what the fairies are in Storybrooke. And she's basically like, we're having our candle fundraiser, like, who wants to help me? Who wants to volunteer? And no one says anything because they all hate her now. Grumpy goes to leave, and when he like crosses in front of Mary Margaret, he's like, hey, Mary Margaret. And then she's like, oh, do you want to help? And he's like, no, and you don't want me to. Everybody hates me just as much as they hate you. We're not going to get anything done together. Emma agrees to help Mary Margaret, and Mary Margaret is just kind of like devastated because she's like, you're the only one. We had 10 people signed up last week and now we have nobody. Everybody quit. She feels like she ruined her life over the whole David situation, but Emma's pretty insistent that it's gonna blow over. It's a small town, it's a big deal right now, but it won't be in a few days. Grumpy is walking through the town square, and one of the nuns, Nova, except in Storybrooke we call her Astrid, she like knocks something off the ladder she's on and like dumps a little bit of glitter onto Grumpy. If anyone else did this to him, he would literally light them on fire, but because it's her, he's immediately like, oh, and like just weak in the knees, and she gets down and she's like, I'm so sorry. She like pulls his hat off his head and starts dusting him off, like no care in the world to the fact that it's literally Grumpy and everyone hates him. She's just being nice and kind, and he is smitten. He ends up helping her fix the lights she was working on, so he gets everything working in the town square. She asks if he's a mechanic, and he's like, no, actually I'm just a janitor. I'm just good at fixing things. And then he tells her that his dream was to be a sailor, and he always wanted to go around the world and sail. She tells him that she thinks he can be anything he wants as long as he can dream it. Emma gets called out to look at Catherine's car. Sydney is also there taking lots of pictures because he's like, this is an inside scoop. I need the town to know about this. They find Catherine's bags in the car, which is pretty suspicious. Sydney is like, why don't you let me get some phone records for you? If you do it, they're gonna take forever. You're gonna have to go through all the different channels. I have an inside person in the mayor's office. They'll get them for me. David shows up, confused as all hell. He's like, what happened? Where is Catherine? And Emma is slightly concerned at this point that he might have something to do with it, because you know it's always the spouse. 9 times out of 10, it's the spouse. We go back to the Enchanted Forest where the dwarves are being like cleaned up and their hair's being done and they're getting their little outfits. They're like being prepared to go to work in the mines. They basically mine the diamonds that then get crushed into the pixie dust. Grumpy asks where the beautiful woman is that he saw in his dream. The main dwarf that's like helping get them all cleaned up is like, I don't know what you saw, but we don't have female dwarfs and you can't fall in love. They get their axes, and when they pick them up for the first time, the wood like labels their names on it, and Grumpy's name was originally Dreamy. Leroy goes to help Mary Margaret, and she's like, you told me you didn't want to help. You made that very clear. And he's like, listen, I changed my mind. Am I not allowed to do that? And she's like, fine, you can help me, but you have to do every single thing that I say. I'm in charge. Astrid the nun gets in trouble for buying too many helium tanks. She was supposed to buy 12, and she bought 12 dozen. So she's wasted all the money in the budget. You guessed it, Mr. Gold is the landlord, so he's not gonna help them get that money back or wait on the money. He's just crazy, and he'll probably just steal their church. Leroy is like, well, you know what? We're gonna sell all the damn candles, and then you're gonna make your money back. David doesn't know what happened to Catherine. He says that he hasn't spoken to her since they had the like official breakup moment, and he went and called Mary Margaret, and Catherine went to Regina. They've not spoken since then, and Emma believes him because she has the whole lying superpower. Regina calls Sydney and is like, I have the phone records you requested. I don't know how Emma didn't see that coming. Should have suspected it. In the mines, Grumpy is working away with his brothers. They're the other 7 dwarves, including Stealthy, who is not dead yet. Nova is watching the dust collect into that little bag. She's getting the next year's supply ready. And while she's working, somehow the little lever that she's like cranking gets stuck and she can't get it to turn off, so the dust is just spilling everywhere. Don't worry though, Grumpy runs in to help her. He realizes that she's the woman from his dreams. She is truly just like not like the other fairies, and so she loses the bag and it gets like stuck on the conveyor belt system in the room, and Grumpy has to like be a superhero and stop it, but he gets the bag for her. She says she's too clumsy to be a fairy godmother like she wants, and he says he thinks she's a wonderful fairy and she can be anything she wants to be as long as she can dream it. She gets all flirty and she's like, I'm gonna be coming back by this way. There's a little meadow where there's fireflies and they're really beautiful and it only happens once a year. And because Grumpy is an idiot boy, he's like, oh, okay, have the best time ever, bye, and he just leaves. The fundraiser is going so badly. Leroy tells Mary Margaret that they just need to go door to door because everybody hates them, so if they just go into their houses, nobody's gonna be able to say no to that. They're gonna buy the candles just to get them to leave. But it doesn't go well either, and we end up just getting a montage of people in the town slamming their doors in their faces. Emma tells Sydney that Catherine's school in Boston has no record of her making it to campus. Sydney is pretty insistent that either David or Mary Margaret or both of them got rid of Catherine in some way. But Emma is like, no, Mary Margaret wouldn't do that. She's not vindictive. She's not crazy. In the Enchanted Forest, in a little tavern, Dreamy is like lamenting about how he can't eat, he can't sleep, something's wrong with him, but none of the dwarves know how to make him better because the dwarves think that they can't get sick, so Dreamy must just be making it up. And this woman is like, it's not in his head, it's in his heart. He's in love. The camera pans over and it's Belle. She says she knows love, and he's in it. He asks what it's like, and she says it's the most wonderful, amazing thing in the world. It fuels their dreams, and if he has it, he needs to be really careful because it doesn't always last forever. Belle is then an awesome wing woman, and she's like, you sweet little idiot boy, the fireflies situation was her trying to ask you on a date. And Grumpy's like, why didn't she just say that then? And Belle's like, because she wanted you to ask her to go together, you idiot, go. And he goes running after Nova, even though the other dwarves are like, you can't be in love, you can't go to her. Leroy just straight up lies to the nuns about getting the money already. He says that they sold all the candles and everything is fixed. So now he has to figure out how to make up that money. Dreamy makes it to the Firefly Meadow to meet Nova. They talk about getting a boat and traveling the world to sail together and explore. The fireflies come out and Nova kisses him, and then she's like, okay, let's do it. Let's get the boat. I'll meet you here tomorrow night. We can run away together. Leroy tries to barter with Mr. Gold. He's trying to sell his boat for $5,000, which is what they need. But Mr. Gold is like, I'll give you $3,000 for it, and that's being generous. Then he figures out that Leroy's just trying to help the nuns, and he's even more annoyed because he's like, I don't even like them, because if you'll remember, in the Enchanted Forest, the blue fairy is the reason why Rumpelstiltskin got caught, so he doesn't like the fairies. He doesn't want anything to do with them, therefore he hates the nuns in this world. Astrid shows up after Mr. Gold has left and finds the candles on the boat, and she's heartbroken that Leroy lied to her. Sydney brings Emma the phone records, and according to them, David called Catherine a few minutes before the crash, which means he was lying. Leroy and Mary Margaret drink together at Granny's, bonded in their misery. Mary Margaret has figured out that everything he did was for Astrid, and she's like, you understand that she's a nun, right? Like, you can't date her, she's a nun. He's like, well, you were out here sneaking around with a married guy, lady, so I don't think you get to judge me. Mary Margaret's like, yep, okay, valid. And then Leroy points out that all he wanted was a good moment with Astrid. He's like, do you regret the good moments with David? Do they outweigh the bad stuff that's happened now? And Mary Margaret's like, no, I wouldn't trade them for anything. I was so happy with him. And Leroy's like, thank you. I just wanted a moment like that with Astrid. It would have been enough for me. Dreamy tries to sneak out to go to Nova, and the other dwarves wake up because Stealthy, is stealthy. So he's like, you're not good at this. You should have asked me to help you. They're really upset that he was gonna leave without saying goodbye. And then they have like a heartfelt, like, we love you, we hope you have the best time, good luck. They try to give him his axe, and he's like, I don't need it anymore, like, I'm done with that life. So he is not a dwarf anymore, he's a dwarf in love, and he's going out on his own. On his way out though, that head dwarf comes to him and stops him and is like, you can't leave. You have a responsibility. You have to mind the dust. You can't love. Like, this isn't possible. You're delusional. Dude, the blue fairy shows up and puts her little foot down too, and is like, if you leave with Nova, Nova will lose her wings. But if you guys stay and stay separated, then you can bring untold joy to the rest of the world because you'll mind the dust and she'll use the dust. That's how it's supposed to be, Dreamy. Leroy is a genius, and he goes up to a roof near the town square and cuts the power. So all the lights at the little fundraiser carnival go out, which means people are going to need candles. Dreamy gets to Nova, and she bought them a boat, y'all. She got a boat, she got it all ready, she packed it with supplies, she was ready to go. But he says that he can't go with her because they're a fairy and a dwarf and they're not meant to be together. She deserves that they're special and they deserve to make their own way in life because they're in love. He says it's not real. It's just a dream and they need to put it away. He says he can't stand in the way of her happiness, and she says that he's her happiness because she loves him. He says he's a dwarf and he can't love. So Dreamy goes back to the mines. He breaks his axe while he's working, and when he's given a new one, his name has changed to Grumpy. At the fair, Mary Margaret and Leroy sell out of the candles because the power's out and everybody needs one. He goes to Astrid and she is so happy and so thrilled and so thankful. He asks her if once he gets his boat up and running, if she'll be the first passenger, and she agrees. Regina goes to Emma and is like, I want to know where my friend Catherine is. She's been missing for over 24 hours. If you don't start getting me answers, I'm gonna fire you and replace you with somebody who will do the job correctly. Mary Margaret goes to get into her car, and then she sees like the remnants of the tramp word, and she gets sad. She ends up walking back through the town square. She runs into Granny, and Granny lights her candle. So I guess they're forgiving Mary Margaret now. It's very short-lived. She is Snow White though, so I can see how it would be hard to hate her long term. At the same time, Emma is going to David and he's like, what's up? Did you find out anything? And she's like, actually, David, I need you to get in the car and come with me to the station. And he's like, why? What's going on? And she's like, I need you to tell me everything. I know you're lying. The final shot of the episode is Mary Margaret watching in horror as David is put into the back of the squad car. Thank you guys in advance for understanding that this video is just a little bit shorter. I've got a lot of things in the works right now and just a lot going on, and I just unfortunately don't have time for episode 15 on this filming day, and then I'm not going to be able to come back to this video later. So we're putting those together. 15 through 18 are coming soon. I pinky swear. Pinky swear. I hope you guys are doing so well and you're having a great week, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye.